Hello guys, and welcome to our next tutorial on C++. Previously in our previous lecture we learned about the basics of C++, who invented C++, some basic code of C++, and the main parts of the C++ code. So today we're gonna be learning about the difference between IDE and a compiler. IDE basically stands for Integrated Development Environment. Definition of IDE: an IDE is a comprehensive software application that combines various developmental tools into a single interface, providing an integrated and streamlined environment for software development. An IDE is basically kind of you can call it a text editor, where there are different tools that you can use to make your software, which makes the IDE just makes it easier for you to work with the code and debug it and all that. User interface: IDEs offer a user-friendly interface with features like code editing, debugging, syntax highlighting, code completion, version control, integration, and more. Later I will show you some syntax errors and all that in the next videos, and the code completion things which IDE offers. If there are different IDEs that offer code completion and some they don't, it just depends on the IDE, which IDE you use. Code editing: developer can write, edit, and manage their code within the IDE, often supporting multiple programming languages. Debugging: IDEs come with built-in debuggers that allow developers to set breakpoints, inspect variables, step through code, and analyze program execution flow for debugging purposes. So what this line means, that IDE comes with debuggers that removes the bugs, allows the developer to set breakpoints. Breakpoints are basically just a point where the code will run to, and then it will stop until you want it to run. Then you can inspect the variables in it, step through the code, and analyze the program execution flow, how the program executes, how line by line program execute, which line does it go to after, like you call some function, where does it go, which function is it being called, and all that. And then project management: IDE facilitate project organization, enabling developers to manage files, dependencies, and build configuration within the same environment. Integration: IDEs often come bundled with other tools like code analyzer, profilers, and code generators, providing a cohesive development experience. The IDE basically makes it easier for you to code. It facilitates your coding experience and then enhances it. For example, Visual Code Studio, Eclipse, IntelliJ, IDE, we will learn more on that later. Now we learn about compiler. Definition: compiler is a specialized software tool that translates the source code written in a high level programming language into machine code or an intermediate representation, bytecode, that can be executed directly by computer hardware or by a virtual machine. A compiler basically it takes the code you made, then it changes it into the language that your computer can understand. Sometimes it's in machine code, sometimes it's in bytecode, so it makes it easier for the computer to understand what you have written in your code. Translation process: the compiler performs a series of tasks including lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, optimization, code generation, to convert the source code into executable code. The compiler produces standalone executable files or libraries that can run independently on the target platform. So basically what the compiler does, it compiles the whole code into one thing. Like as you can see, you open a program, it's in, what file is it in? It's in exe file. You don't see the whole code behind it because it's been totally compiled into one file. So the work of the compiler is that it forms a standalone executable or files or libraries. Error detection: during the compilation process, the compiler identifies syntax and semantic errors in the code, reporting them to the developer for correction. language support. Each compiler is designed to support specific languages and language families. Independence. Compilers are separate tools and can be used independently of any specific development environment. For example, GCC GNU compiler collection for C++, Microsoft C++ compiler, Java compiler, Python interpreter, and so on. So these are some examples of IDEs. Dev C++. This is quite old compiler IDE, which has a compiler in it. All of them have a compiler in it, but only for Visual Studio Code you have to install a different compiler with it. Dev C++ is the oldest one IDE. Then C-Line. C-Line is a great IDE. I use it personally myself. In the next videos I will tell you how to install C-Line IDE, so make sure to watch that as well, so you can easily install one yourself. Then Visual Studio Code Blocks, and Atom is basically, I remember, as far as I can remember, it's on Mac operating system and it's on paid. In summary, an IDE provides a comprehensive development environment with code editing, debugging, and program management features, while a compiler is a specific tool responsible for translating high-level source code into executable machine code or intermediate representations. IDEs often use compilers in background to build and run the projects developed within their environment. Basically, IDE use compiler in the background to build and run the whole code developed within them. Like for example, you make a small calculator. It uses the compiler in the background to build and run it, so you can know if there's any error in there or anything, and the compiler will tell you, hey, you made an error over here, so you should fix that. And you made a semantic error over here, you made a syntax error, all that, everything will, until the program runs, it will give you error, but when it runs, it will show the whole thing and pack it in one file. So that's all about the compiler and IDE, how compiler works, what an IDE is, and what you need to know about it. So that is it for today, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Have a good day.